Alright, this is a huge shout out to all of my fellow vid makers out there. And only you guys would understand exactly what I'm talking about, but don't you hate it when you put a lot of time into production, you go to film a video, you get ready to upload it only to realize that there's no audio, and then you suddenly realize in that sinking feeling that you've got to do it all over again? We've all been there. And I gotta tell you, I was impressed. Some of my best work just came out of this video that I just filmed a little bit ago. And as luck would have it, as the YouTube gods would see it, my audio wasn't working. I'm in a great mood right now. I'm in a great mood right now. So I get to do this all over again, which means I'm probably going to kind of rush through it a little bit. But that's okay. I need to get this video out. I need to get something out to you guys. It's late as it is. But I want to apologize for coming out a little bit late with this video. I have been sick. Came down with the flu huge 2 days ago. And it knocked me on my ass. Missed a night of work, having to stay in, slept, been a zombie for a while. I'm feeling much better now, but I thought it was Wednesday. Come to find out it's actually Thursday, and no video. Which means I missed my live stream event. Again, I'll apologize for the couple of you guys that do actually show up to the live stream event. Sorry that I missed this week. I don't really have any plans to make up for this Kansas City game, even though there's probably a lot to go over. But I'm just going to throw this one into the dustbin and concentrate on other things going into this bye week. But without further ado, going to be looking at, once again, going through the tape as far as my preview of this game that we had played. As far as I'm concerned, we hung in there really well with an undefeated football team. There's been a couple. I've been really impressed with the representation of the NFC East when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm pretty sure to a Kansas City Chiefs fan that doesn't mean it doesn't mean squat to them, but that's fine. It's a barometer for us and how tough we have played. The two teams they've played so far and how tough they have played those two teams on the road and at home, even prime time. I've been very impressed with this football team that we've played. They got a really good organization over there, and they're probably going to be one of the top seeds in the playoffs as far as the AFC conference is concerned. You're going to see them again rearing their ugly heads towards the end of the season should they stay healthy. We were one or two plays away from winning this football game. Coming down to a couple plays that botched for us, maybe a penalty or two, maybe some clock management, FUBARs in there. They kept us from victory, but they are all lessons that need to be learned, that you need a very small margin of error to beat a team like this on prime time on the road. I'm not going to sit here and say we need to claim a moral victory from this, but I will say that I am impressed with our performance, and you should be too. We played really well on a lot of different sides of the ball, with the exception of maybe a couple of things that need to be pointed out. But moving on into the offense, as far as my ideas of the offense, nothing really much to say about the running back position. We had some people back there that were playing hurt. There wasn't a whole lot that they could really do. I'm not going to go a whole lot into the running game. We kind of had a feeling the running game really wasn't going to be there in this one because they're really stout in the middle and they have some really good disruptive linebackers that are playing on this Kansas City team. So that we knew was going to be negligible. The worry is going to be against the passing game. The offensive line, in my opinion, did an awesome job, phenomenal job against this stout defense, especially with individuals like Justin Houston in here. Kansas City's, honestly, the Kansas City's defense, I don't think played against a tougher team than us going into this football game. There were some players in this team that we were able to kind of nullify, which was really nice to see. Morgan Moses, I'd like to point him out. Morgan Moses played a phenomenal job. A couple times where he could have played a little bit better, but honestly, overall book of work for Monday night's football game, I was very impressed with Morgan Moses. He did exactly what we needed him to do, and this kid has stepped up. Week 1 has been the only game where his performance was absolutely piss poor. We've gone on a huge kaleidoscope, a huge pendulum swing here, where it comes to Week 1's performance, and now we saw some of his worst performance in Week 1, and we are at the point where we're seeing some of his best. He's gone up against some really tough individuals. You're taking a look at that Philly defensive line, which he didn't necessarily do all that well against guys like Fletcher Cox. Timmy Jernigan not so much, but the Fletcher Coxes of the world he struggled against. But coming back and facing guys like Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, and then now Justin Houston, major disruptive forces, massive pass rushers, guys that wreak havoc in the backfield. Aaron Donald played all over the place on the defensive line, but Khalil Mack and Justin Houston stayed home, and they knew that was going to be a little bit of a weakness for the Washington Redskins at that right tackle position, and he did admirably. Was very impressed with him. Huge kudos to Morgan Moses. I want to point him out. We had a huge scare with Trenton Williams going down. Had an injury, ended up coming back. We put a replacement in there and tried to run away from him a little bit, but would have liked to have seen us pull him a couple of times, maybe along with Spencer Long, but at least him and Sean Loval on some wide receiver screens, maybe something to get those plays going. And maybe it happened. I didn't necessarily see it. I only got one viewing of this game. But we didn't run a whole lot to that left side. We ran more to the right, which surprised me because Justin Houston was in on all those run plays. So would like to have seen us run it away from him. Wide receiver positions I want to bring up. The number one guy I want to bring up, and this guy who I think is kind of getting neglected a little bit by the media. The first guy that's going to be on my list that I'm going to give kudos to is going to be Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis had 2 receptions in this football game, and they were 2 receptions that came at very key moments of this football game. Great receptions, yards after the catch. Looked like a kid out of college football. Phenomenal job on his part. He's become a huge third down, second down asset for us, especially when a Jordan Reed has not necessarily quite been there. But a great job on Vernon Davis's part. Josh Doctson, of course, is a huge part of this offense at this point as far as a deep threat is concerned. I don't want him to be the answer for a Deshaun Jackson not being here. Yes, I don't mind us going deep with him, but I want to see us incorporate a little bit more of a Josh Doctson in that wide receiver position. I've been saying this for the last 2 weeks. I've had it just a little bit with Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor, I don't understand why we're trying to feature him so much. We're not paying him that much, and he's here on a 1-year deal. As far as I'm concerned, if you're not cutting it, then under those circumstances, we need to put you a little bit on the back burner until you can prove to us that you're a big boy and can catch the football. You haven't been able to prove us that so far. We got other individuals that are sitting in the wings that are waiting to move up to take your spot. So Josh Doctson is definitely one of those individuals. I wouldn't mind seeing what he's got on a more consistent basis. Ryan Grant, another solid performance out of him. Was pleased with some of his route running ability, his catching ability. Did a fairly good job. Terrell Pryor, of course, had his deep touchdown pass in the first drive of the game, and I don't expect anybody else not to do exactly what it was he did, considering that football was placed right on the numbers. Couldn't have been more geniusly placed. Even he couldn't have messed that up. And it's really kind of a tragedy to know that his success rate with catching the football has to be right at chest level. That is a huge disgrace considering his athletic ability and his physical attributes. With a guy who has the wingspan that he has, the catch radius that he has to bring that football down, the only time we can guarantee he can catch the ball is if Kirk Cousins sticks right between the numbers. We can do that with anybody that's above 5 feet tall. So that's why I'm kind of a little bit done for right now on Terrell Pryor. Kind of want to see him take a little bit of a back seat. I don't need to see him stick out as much going towards the tunnel when somebody shouts racial epithets at him. I want to see him stand out on the football field. That's where it counts the most. So I would like to see a little bit more out of him. He needs to catch the football, but he did a good job on one play. His route running ability is horrible. Still, he's not selling any routes. And for a guy who's on the football field because of his work ethic on this in practice, being the first guy there, the last guy to leave, and all the work that he puts into his position, exactly what work are we putting into? Because his technique coach isn't doing anything for him at this point. His technique on route running is absolutely abysmal. It's horrible. He's not selling anything. He couldn't sell a slant route to a blind man. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. I've never seen anything quite like it at this level on such a consistent basis. A lot of questions that I have about the Terrell Pryor decision to keep him in as much as we have him in there for. The amount of looks that he gets, I'd rather give a lot of those looks between 2 or 3 other individuals. Kirk Cousins, moving on to him, did a really good job. Great primetime football game, man. Primetime football game on the road against an AFC juggernaut like the Kansas City Chiefs at this point. We were really worried about his performance going into this football game because of the days that he missed. I will say this. And I don't like to do this, but I will say it. It has been mentioned before that it's not that much of a concern for him missing a couple of days because he's a competitor. Because he knows this offense and he's going to go out and ball out. Those are platitudes that are fun to say, but it's not even close to being true. The fact of the matter is, the way that it works at that level, and Given my experience, I've got no experience of playing quarterback. I've got no experience of playing pro. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to putting together an offensive scheme, it takes all week to do it. And when you're going up against a professional football team, especially the caliber of the Kansas City Chiefs going on the road, you need to be there absolutely every single day. You cannot miss a snap. You cannot miss any of those drills on offense. You cannot miss the meetings. That is the meat and potatoes of your scheme going into the football game. What you know that you're going to do, exploits that you're going to exploit, one-on-one matchups that you're going to see, the plays that you're going to run through during audibles, checkdowns, protections. That doesn't come through you through osmosis. That doesn't get sent in an email as you're sitting in a hospital. Okay, I got it. No. It doesn't work that way. You need to be there. You need to be there for those meetings. It's a tremendous sacrifice, but the dude's getting paid a lot of money. And I understand the guy had a baby, and I get it. And from what I also understand, he had an iPad and was live streaming a lot of those meetings while he was at the hospital, and that's great. That's good to see. But as far as I was concerned to see him missing a couple days and then going into this football game and maybe starting a little flat, throwing some interceptions, and none of that happened. None of that happened. He actually used his wheels quite a bit in this game trying to get that extra yardage. And it's tough because, let's face it, guys, the way this Kansas City Chief defense plays, they love to rush 4 pass rushers, which they're really, really good at. Collapse the pocket, which is 4 people. And then sending, 7, 8 people back into coverage. And that's really, really difficult for a quarterback because the windows get smaller. The tolerances get tighter. And if there's any time for Kirk Cousins to throw an interception in his career in 2017, it was in this game. And it didn't happen. And that's a huge, huge step up considering the last couple of seasons. I'm fairly convinced he would have thrown an interception or 2 in this football game, and it didn't happen. So huge kudos on his part. Great job by our coaching staff to be able to scheme around this stuff, and some great looks as far as our wide receivers and our backfield was concerned to help him out with that. And for him to run, you've got to be able to sell the threat deep as well. So he's not going to do it all by himself. Those defensive players can only move up at a certain time before he's going to chuck that thing off or run it. So he did a really good job at selling both of those to get some good yardages and some first downs for us. So it's really, really good to see on that part. Defensive play, getting part of the way through here. Defensive part of this game, we got beat up bad. There's really no other way to say it. This is one of the best teams at winning by attrition that you're going to see. And fourth quarter is where they shine the best. And it was very painfully obvious, despite our rotation and despite what it was we threw at them, and despite the fact that this is a weak team up the middle, considering they're playing with all backups on that offensive line, they looked like first-string starters by the fourth quarter, man. They did a phenomenal job, and we were on the field too long on a lot of occasions. Some major, major penalties that took place in this football game when they shouldn't have, the extended drives that made this extremely excruciating. Preston Smith, you've got to figure this out. It's one of the easiest concepts to understand in football, even at the elementary school level. You need to know when to line up and you need to know when to go. It's not that hard. It's actually kind of easy. At the very bottom level, they tell you to watch the football. And I'm going to go ahead and say that to you as a professional football player. You need to watch the football and not listen to the cadence and try to get that extra step. Because you've cost this football team a couple of times on third down to extend drives because of encroachment. And I got to tell you, I know for a fact that referee could have called you at any time on that drive for encroachment, but he waited until third down to pop you. That was intentional. If you look at the first 2 plays of that game, you were in the neutral zone, and it could have been popped then too. But I think he waited. I think he waited on you to see if you do it on third down, and then he popped you to extend a Kansas City drive. And that's all on you, Preston. You need to figure it out. We said in our review game that there were 4 targets in this game that we were going to have to really, really red circle and pay attention to. 4 weapons on this Kansas City team that were going to be the measure of success. One was Alex Smith, phenomenal quarterback. He's got this scheme down tremendously and has a real good head for Andy Reid's offense. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, we had him contained in the first half. Second half, when things started going wrong and breaking down, that kid started breaking open some pretty big runs and getting some really big yardages on first and second downs, even on third downs. Tyreek Hill was a non-factor. Great to see, great secondary play, great job on our corner's part to take him out of this game, and they had him all over the place. Even on roundabout and reverse plays, we were able to sniff those out and get in there. Really, really good to see us do that well against Tyreek Hill. However, Travis Kelce gashed this defense wide open. We were a bleeding sieve every time this guy caught the ball, and he caught the ball on several occasions, which only opened up Kareem Hunt in the backfield. We got no answer for a big Travis Kelce. At this point, we need to be worried about any tight ends, any pass-catching third down tight end that we go up against in the future. Travis Kelce is going to be one of the very, very best that we go up against. We had double coverages on him sometimes, but he still came down with the football with Redskin players draped all over him in the commission of a felonious crime of assault, and he still was able to bring this ball down. And the cockiness, just the unrelenting cockiness, and well-deserved as well. We deserved to have that rubbed in our noses, and that was unfortunate to see. But Travis Kelce was a huge target, remained to be a huge target, and I don't think this offense was really threatened at too many times in this football game because they knew that option was available to them. One of the defensive players that I want to bring up right now is an individual that I kind of brought up a little bit before, but I'm making a major point to bring his name up now. Matt Ioannidis has been really, really stout for us in the middle. If you watch him, if you go back and just watch Matt Ioannidis' plays, you are going to see what it means to be a defensive tackle in this league. It's not pretty, it's not sexy, it's not fun, you're not an outside pass rusher. You're going up against some very big, very beefy, immovable individuals. And I got to tell you, Matt Ioannidis is getting some good push on these guys. For a guy that's his size, who's not framed like a defensive tackle, he is really doing good at maintaining gap integrity and collapsing the pocket and getting in on some of those sacks. It's impressive to see. Right now, the best combination on our defensive line right now has got to be Matt Ioannidis and Jonathan Allen. Having those two in rotation has been really, really good. And then, of course, I think behind them, you've got Ziggy Hood, and I can't remember the other guy's name. But he's done really, really well. In fact, I really should remember his name. I'm going to go ahead and bring him up here. But his combination with Ziggy Hood and rotating in at those positions has been a phenomenal help as well. We're really, really stout at that defensive tackle position, which we haven't seen in a lot of years. Moving a defensive tackle, the person that I am not remembering is Stacy McGee. Stacy McGee and Ziggy Hood, those two individuals. That's a great rotation. That's a great, great rotation. Usually you have two that are really good, and then the other two, you just hold your breath and hope they don't screw up as big. Zach Brown played a phenomenal game. I don't think this offense saw a better middle linebacker so far this season until they saw Zach Brown. Zach Brown ended up getting hurt. He disrupted a lot of plays for us, and then, of course, I think Will Compton came in, played fairly well for us. Played really, really good in the position that I've been saying all along that he's best at, and that's a backup middle linebacker position. With his fortitude, with his leadership ability, we can still take advantage of that. But obviously, Mason Foster and Zach Brown is going to be it at the middle linebacker position for us. Moving along, Ryan Kerrigan was a phenomenal factor in the first half of this game, but we didn't see We didn't see a whole lot of him out of the second half, and I think it was because they were scheming more in his direction. They did a really good job of adjusting coverages for negating a Ryan Kerrigan. And I think that's at the point where we have to start taking a look at guys like Preston Smith and Junior Gillette. These two individuals need to step it up a little bit on that opposite side so that we can help compensate to open up our big pass rusher and Ryan Kerrigan. One of the things I will bring up is Trent Murphy will be coming back after this. He had a 4-game suspension that he was serving because of the substance abuse thing or performance enhancing, whatever. He will be coming back. I'm not expecting him to be too much of a factor as an outside linebacker for this team at this point. Maybe he can kind of vie for a little bit of that outside pass rush position. But look for him to get into the rotation as well. Interested in seeing how much of a malaise he's going to be in after sitting out for 4 weeks. But see him getting sprinkled in here and there. So we are just that much more stronger at that outside linebacker position, which is good to see. Marshall Spate played a very good game. I was very impressed with Marshall Spate. Couple of mistakes, couple of gaffes here and there, but the kid is starting to get a lot of playing time and has come up huge in a lot of plays for us. I'm expecting some really, really big things out of him. One of the big things I want to mention this football game was the injury that happened to Josh Norman. That rib injury's got me very, very concerned. They're saying 2 to 6 weeks at this point. I think it may be longer. I would not expect him to come back too early. I would not want him to come back too early. That rib injury is a hell of a thing. Quinton Dunbar was a huge he's not a Josh Norman, but he's a kid who's had 3 years of experience on this football team. Had a lot of his earlier mistakes, I think, that have played out in the last couple of seasons. Now he's a much more astute, experienced corner for us. He's going to be a weak spot. It's going to be a position that a lot of quarterbacks are going to exploit, but I have a lot of confidence he's going to play fairly well. Quinton Dunbar played he did a really good job in this football game, because they did target him a couple times in this game, and it didn't necessarily work out for them, so that's good to see. DeShazer Everett and Monte Nicholson, I think, played a very stand-up game, considering they went up against one of the best tight ends in this game with Travis Kelce. Nicholson, I think, ended up getting hurt a little bit towards the end of this football game with a hit out of bounds. He didn't get up. It was hard for him to get up. I don't know what his position is as far as injury goes. DJ Swearinger is DJ Swearinger. Had another really big stout game for us. That's kind of where he's going to be for us this offseason. That's pretty much going to do it for the defense, guys. That's really all I've got. We just need to get them off the field and keep them off the field as much as possible with, some positive offensive plays. Looking forward to our schedule coming up. We've got some really tough, some tough teams that we got coming up after the bye. The San Francisco game, I don't think, is necessarily going to be as easy as a lot of people think. We got a head coach that knows this football team really well, so that's going to be an interesting game. But it's a really good game to segue into the tough schedule that we got coming up with the Eagles, Cowboys, Seahawks. A couple of those teams I think are beatable. A couple of those teams I can tell you right now are sweating us to play us. They're not looking forward to that at all. It's going to be an interesting season. The Giants haven't quite woken up yet. The Eagles are looking really good, and the Cowboys, they're kind of towing the company line right now, kind of staying right in the middle. So it's going to be interesting as far as the NFC East is concerned. We're right now sitting at one of the better teams, one of the best divisions in football right now to watch. So that's exciting to see. That's going to do it for me, guys. As far as my videos go, I'm not going to really come out with too much. I've got a preview of the Niners that's going to be coming up here in a couple of weeks, being that we got a bye week. I plan on watching all their games and giving you guys a thorough review. A couple of weapons on that team that we need to take a look at. Unfortunately, one of them used to be a Redskin. He's going to want to play a really big game against us in his performance, so he's going to have a big show out, and it's going to suck being that Josh Norman is out. So, yeah, Pierre Garçon could be a potential threat. I have my mini series that I have not got back to because of the mundane tasks of regular season. I may end up finishing one or two of those videos. Those take a little bit of time to come out, so look forward to a couple of those, wrapping up and finishing up that series. I'd like to do that sometime this year. Anyways, that's going to do it for me, guys. Again, sorry about the live stream on Wednesday that didn't take place. Ended up being sick, and that was not fun to get over. So it's good to be back now, and look forward to getting through this weekend and getting some relaxed time for our team, and hopefully healing up some of those injuries from this Kansas City game. So that's going to do it for me, guys. We'll catch you all next time. For us fans, the Twin Feather, we ride together. Redskins for life. We'll catch you all next time. See ya.